Are you looking for a short book without sacrificing quality? I have some excellent options for you. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I got a request for some short book recommendations, so I picked 10 short books from my shelves that I believe you will enjoy. The first book on our list is Fosse by Keegan. This book has 92 pages. The story takes place in Ireland. This is about a little girl whose parents are feeling overwhelmed because they are very poor and they have a large family to take care of. So they decide to drop their daughter off with some family friends for a while. So you follow this little girl and you see how a bond starts to form between her and the young couple she is staying with. The writing is simple and spare, and somehow Keegan is able to show everything from a child's perspective. As you are reading this, it will transport you back to your own childhood and make you feel like she found words for emotions that you couldn't really verbalize at the time. Although the book is short, it has a strong emotional impact. I highly recommend it. The next book on our list is Morning and Evening by Fosse. It has 107 pages. Fosse is a Norwegian author who has a signature style. He doesn't use a lot of punctuation and he uses some repetitions at times, but the story is easy to follow. There is one main protagonist who lives in a fishing village in Norway. Throughout the book, he is reflecting on his life, and there are themes like love, family bonds, the passage of time. When you finish the book, you feel this strange connection to all your fellow humans. It almost catches you by surprise because it seems like not much is happening as you're reading it, but it kind of sneaks up on you. It is more about atmosphere and feelings than about plot. Fosse was awarded the Nobel Prize for Literature in 2023, and I could see why, because his writing is quite original and powerful at the same time. I'm planning to actually read more books by this author, so stay tuned. The next book on our list is Lucy by Jamaica Kincaid. This one has 128 pages. It's about a young girl from the West Indies who moves to the US to take care of some children. The children's mom is Mariah, and Lucy develops a friendship with her. As the story progresses, you find out more about Lucy's relationship to her own mother. Jamaica Kincaid has a unique way of getting straight to the heart of the matter. Allow me to read you a passage from this book. So just to give you some context, she is talking about how she used to dream of the city and the buildings before she actually got there, when she was still living in the West Indies. And so she describes that now she's actually there. In a daydream I used to have, all these places were points of happiness to me. All these places were lifeboats to my small, drowning soul. For I would imagine myself entering and leaving them. And just that, entering and leaving over and over again, would see me through a bad feeling I did not have a name for. I had actually read Annie John before I read Lucy, and Lucy felt like a sequel to Annie John. If you watched my video about my top 10 favorite books of all time, you will remember that Annie John was on that list. Okay, our next short book is Ethan Frome by Edith Wharton. This book has 99 pages. This is a great book to read if you're in the mood for some snowy landscapes. It takes place in a small town in Massachusetts. Edith Wharton is skilled at the art of storytelling. The beginning of the book almost reminded me of reading a Pushkin's short story called The Postmaster, because of the snow everywhere and the feeling of being in the middle of nowhere and the slight foreboding in the narrator's tone. The story begins when Ethan Frome is older. Then you are transported back to when he was a young man who had recently gotten married. You find out all the domestic dramas playing out behind closed doors. His wife has a passive-aggressive quality about her, and you will get to experience Ethan Frome's small joys and small disappointments. This was the first book I read by Edith Wharton, and I have since bought more of her books. Let me know in the comments if you're an Edith Wharton fan, as I am planning to make a whole video about the Age of Innocence. Okay, the next book on our list is Riambel by Priya Hein. It has 151 pages. This book takes place in Mauritius. In case you're not familiar with Mauritius, just picture the African continent. Then you have Madagascar as a huge island next to it. And then Mauritius is a smaller island east of Madagascar. The book follows a young girl whose mother works for a wealthy white family. When the girl becomes a teenager, she starts working there too. The book alternates between the storyline and some quotes from famous poets from Mauritius. So it's a blend of storytelling with a tribute to these poets. If you're looking for short chapters and you like poetry, then this is a good option for you. There are important themes in this book like colonialism, male dominance, poverty, and the power of education. If you've never heard of Mauritius and you want to expand your horizons, then this is a great place to start. Okay, the next book on our list is Second Harvest by Giono. It has 122 pages. This book was translated from the French, but interestingly, I really like the English version, even though initially I had read it in French. This is a book with a lot of descriptions of nature. It is set in the south of France. The main character is Pontule, and basically there's a running metaphor throughout the book that shows you his life in parallel with the land. So it feels like whatever is happening to him is reflected in what is happening to the land. If you want to experience beautiful nature writing and you want to feel a connection between humans and Mother Earth, then this book is for you. Okay, the next book on our list is A Christmas Memory by Truman Capote. It has 53 pages. I don't usually read books in one day, even the short ones, but I think I read this one in a day. This is a very easy read. It's based on Truman Capote's memories of his childhood. He describes the bond he had with his caregiver. It's a great book to read around the holidays. It gives you a heartwarming feeling. The writing is beautiful but simple at the same time. This is one of those books that you will probably want to revisit just for the mood it puts you in. Okay, our next book today is The Enchanted April by Elizabeth von Arnim. It has 195 pages. This is an interesting book because it feels like the main character is actually a place, which is rarely the case in most stories you read. It's about two women who live in London and they find an ad in a newspaper about an Italian villa that is available for rent in the month of April. When they come across this ad, it happens to be a cold, rainy day in London, and the thought of spending time in a beautiful villa in Italy seems like a fantasy to them. At first, they feel like it's too expensive and they couldn't afford it. Then they decide to recruit more people to split the cost. And so they end up going to Italy. And something happens to them under the influence of the beautiful scenery, the cascading flowers, the sound of the waves. It's almost like they are transformed by their new surroundings. This book is a reminder of how important our environment is and the impact it can have on a person. If you're looking for a book that will leave you hopeful, then this is the one for you. Okay, our next book is The Housekeeper and the Professor by Yoko Ogawa. This book has 180 pages. The narrator is a housekeeper who ends up working for a man who is a mathematician, but because of an accident he had a long time ago, he is not able to remember recent events. If you know someone who has dementia, this is something similar, where older memories are accessible, but it's hard to make new ones. So for example, the housekeeper has to introduce herself all over again every day. I think the point the book makes is that regardless of the memory issue, humans can figure out ways to connect with each other. This book is what I would call a cozy read. It's a translated fiction. You pretty much get used to the professor's habits and you end up looking forward to the interactions with the housekeeper. It's a good book to read if you just read a book that was difficult or stressful, like a long book about conflict or war, and you just want to sip on a hot beverage and sit back and read something a little bit more comforting. Okay, the last book on today's list is The Road to the City by Natalia Ginzburg. This book has 94 pages. It takes place in Italy. It is Natalia Ginzburg's first book. Our protagonist is Delia, a teenage girl who lives on the outskirts of a big city, and whenever she feels bored or in conflict with her family, she walks to the city as a way to escape her reality. The book is easy to read. You almost feel like life is happening to Delia rather than Delia making decisions for herself. Natalia Ginzburg has a writing style that is simple but full of emotion at the same time. You will find themes like dysfunctional families, gender-based expectations, societal pressures. I actually discussed this book in more detail in my video titled Women in Translation, in case you're interested. Reading this book has made me want to read more books by her, so stay tuned on that one. Well, this concludes our list of 10 easy short books. Enjoy the books, guys. Till next time. Happy reading!